It's just a natural part of life. Sometimes we experience highs and sometimes we experience lows. In other words, good times and bad times. But our first guest experienced both at the same time. Country singer John Berry's song, Your Love Amazes Me, had just hit #1. He found out when he was in the hospital getting surgery for a brain tumor. We'll let you know how that turned out in just a minute. As for the song, it received 2 Grammy nominations and dominated the airwaves for weeks.
You give me hope, you give me reason, you give me something to believe in. Forever faithfully, your love amazes me.
Did we mention that he and his wife were also expecting a baby around that time? All of those experiences can make you look at life differently. Country singer John Berry joins us to share his story of faith, hope, and healing before his upcoming concert in Tomball. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Great songs, never go out of style. That song is just forever. Your Love Amazes Me. All right, John, you were raised in Decatur, Georgia. At that time, felt more like a smaller town than it is today.
Yeah, it's a little suburb that's grown into Atlanta.
Yeah. A faithful household. Your mom prayed and read the Bible daily. You say you found Jesus around 10. Now, there's different ways to find Jesus. There's the way that I found him the first time was get up, put on your cute dress, you're getting baptized. And I was like, what is that, right? Or you come to it on your own. You came to it in an interesting moment because your mom was, like you said, always read the Bible and was very faithful. There's a passage that resonated with you.
Yeah, I came home from school this particular day, and my mom was sitting on the little side porch of our house reading. I didn't know what she's reading, but had a lot on my mind and didn't know really what to say. And my mama, she set her book down. She said, "Johnny, what's on your mind?" I said, "Nothing, Mama."
As every 10-year-old boy would do.
She said, "Come sit here with me, son." So I sat on the porch swing with her, and she put her arm around my shoulder and pulled me close. She said, "You tell your mama what's wrong." I said, "Mom, it's been thinking about things I've been teaching me in Sunday school I don't understand. About Jesus dying on a cross and there's blood and he came back to life. They say he's coming back again one day and I don't understand it all. There's a ghost involved and it scares me to death."
Oh.
And she laughed and she said, "Honey, it's the sweetest story ever told." And she read me a couple of Bible verses, but the one that stood out is the one that we all know, John 3:16. But she read it to me different that day. She said, "Look right here, it says, for God so loves Johnny that he gave his only son, that if Johnny will trust in him, Johnny will have everlasting life."
She personalized it for you.
It made it, and God loved me that much to send Jesus. That was the coolest thing I'd ever heard of.
Yeah. Obviously, when it comes to music, gospel music was a part of your household.
Sure.
You say you didn't really listen to country, but sometimes when you listen to, especially the good old-fashioned country, it has gospel roots in it, right? But your brother and sister played the guitar, so music was in your family to the point where your dad actually built a home studio.
Yeah, I got really interested in recording, and we I had a little 4-track reel-to-reel recorder, and we ended up taking it to the basement of our house and built a studio. I cut my first 3 albums in that studio, I think.
Wow. When did you know that music was going to be your future, though?
Maybe at church camp when I realized all the little girls were listening to me sing.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
yeah.
But,
no, that's a hook. Yeah, it's a good one.
I think when I changed high schools.
I can see right now. Hey, Sally, your love amazes me.
I think.
You changed high schools.
Yeah, I changed high schools. I went from knowing everybody to knowing nobody. But that guitar became sort of my best friend. And I really got into playing a lot. Made some lifelong friends at that new school.
Circling back to your faith, a lot of times our faith can be questioned. I know when my brother was killed by a drunk driver, I was angry at God, and I had to work that out. I finally figured out God doesn't do it; He gets you through it, right? Yeah. You had reason to question. I don't know if you ever did. Your mom had a brain aneurysm that burst. I had a brain aneurysm that burst, and I'm so blessed to be sitting here today.
Sure.
She was found in the little side room that she would pray in, and then got to the hospital and didn't make it. How did that change your view on things?
Well, at the time, it was tough, It was just me and my dad living in our house. My brother and sister had grown old, moved out, And, it was just us, and I watched my dad grieve. It was hard. It was hard for a very young 21-year-old to watch his dad go through that.
And sometimes, especially when you're a kid and you're watching, you want to protect your dad's feelings.
Yeah.
You don't take time to grieve yourself.
Yeah. So, but it was for me, it was a great lesson in watching my dad grieve and depend on Christ, and watch his relationship grow.
Yeah, strengthened.
And so there were lots of lessons, but it was a very difficult but meaningful time.
Yeah. Did it make music even more meaningful to you, a career in music?
I'm sure it did. Because music is such an expression. So.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you had your own label. You mentioned, recording things out of the home studio. Your debut, Humble Beginnings, and I think there's a picture of the album cover there. Look at that.
I'm glad y'all can see it, but can't hear it.
Why? No, come on, seriously.
It's okay.
Yeah, okay. Well, we heard the graduation song, which became a favorite at high school ceremonies, and you were a big success regionally, but then you signed with Capitol Records. And, it's interesting, today's a little different, that there are a lot of artists that are sidestepping maybe major record labels because they have the use of social media to go directly to the people. Back then, you pretty much had to get signed if you're going to go big.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to do it otherwise, because it's, how are you going to go visit all these radio stations and all that kind of stuff? But internet has changed all that.
Yeah. Okay, you released 2 big hits, A Mind of Her Own and Kiss Me in the Car. And then the song Your Love Amazes Me comes along, but not to you directly at first. There was a big chance that you would have never done that song.
Yeah, that's right. When I first heard the song, I called my contact at the label, and I said, put this Chuck Jones song on hold. And Your Love Amazes Me. Chuck was the writer. And they called me back the next day and said, Tanya Tucker's got it on hold for her next record. You're next in line.
Yeah, and Tanya was hot at the time.
Oh, so yeah. And but she was on Capitol Records at the same time I was. And she turned her record in, completed a couple of weeks later, and Your Love Amazes Me was not on her record.
Which means you could do it.
Which means I got it.
So it was on top of the charts. You were on top of the world. But that same year, right before that, you started struggling with your health. You weren't feeling well, but you were, you were on tour. You were doing all kinds of things. You're all expecting another child, the whole bit. What was happening, and what did you chalk it up to?
I didn't know what was going on, except the headaches were incredible. And loss of appetite and all that, just change of personality, loss of appetite, lots of pain, knocking back I don't know how much Advil a day. Yeah. And
your wife was pregnant. You sent her home. You sent your daughter home. It's like, okay, just y'all go home. I've got to figure some things out.
It's just a little crowded here. You know? And which was silly, but I just wasn't well. And then I went to the hospital. Our son was born April 28th, and I got to the hospital about an hour after he was born. And when I walked in the room, my wife hardly even recognized me. I looked so different.
Yeah, you had lost a lot of weight.
Lost a lot of weight. She said I just looked hollow. Yeah.
And it turned out?
Well, I took the baby to the nursery. I was walking back to her room, and I just had to sit down. It was either sit down or fall down. And I was sitting on the floor, and this nurse who knew me, she's like, "John, is that you?" And she sat on the floor, and she knew, like a good nurse, something wasn't right. Started asking lots of questions, and got on the subject of my mom and dad, and my mother passing away, my dad having the same issue earlier, and took me in for emergency scan, and there's this keloid cyst right in the third ventricle.
Wow. And so at the same time, I talk about highs and lows. It's kind of a low. You got to get through something like that. But at the same time, Your Love Amazes Me.
Number one record. The morning I had brain surgery.
Yeah, soaring on the charts. All right. So you got well. Your wife had to be your nurse for a while. But your wife is also a part of your band. So you two you're the couple that works together, plays together, all of it together, right? You had more hits that came. What's in It for Me, You and Only You, Standing on the Edge of Goodbye, and another Grammy nomination. What is it like to get those phone calls?
That's fun.
Yeah, I would imagine.
No, my first one, my manager in Nashville, I lived in Athens, Georgia at the time, he called and said, "Go stand by your fax machine."
The fax machine, yes.
And so I'm standing there, and this it starts scrolling through, and the words, and the paper starts scrolling through, and it says, "You have been nominated for a Grammy.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool.
Took 10 minutes.
Yeah, framing that is probably just as good as having a Grammy. Oh my gosh, it's always great to, you do what you do because you love it, not because you necessarily need the accolades. But when those accolades come, you never know sometimes where they're coming from, but it just boosts you to another level. One of those accolades came from George and Barbara Bush.
Yeah, that was really sweet. They had a big event at one of the big conference rooms, ballrooms at the Astrodome Center, and they were celebrating both Barbara and former President Bush's birthdays and the couple's anniversary.
Right.
The dates fell close together, and they had this big event, and they had asked me and Michael W. Smith and Larry Gatlin to come and sing, and we found out that they had the 3 Italian tenors sending a video congratulating them on their anniversary and birthdays. So we thought it'd be a lot of fun to do an Italian song together.
Yeah.
So the 3 of us, we worked up O Sole Mio.
Oh, wow.
And sang it in Italian.
Yeah.
Southern Italian.
Yeah, Southern Italian.
And but it was a lot of fun. It was a great day, and they were so sweet. And Miss Barbara was so kind. And I got a note from George H. A few weeks later, thanking me for being there, and he said, and I couldn't get Barbara to quit talking about your voice all the way home.
Oh. And then you ran into the former president, and he stopped you and had a long conversation. He recognized you. That's one thing I love about them. It's they don't forget. He never forgot. He recognized you, and everyone else was of course trying to talk to him. He's like, no, hold on, I'm having a conversation with
and
you.
I was like, I'm standing there talking to him. He's like taking all this time with me, and I'm like, don't you have something to do that's more important than talking with me?
But no, he did not.
He was awesome.
Yeah. You've done annual Christmas tours. Your career continues. You're known for Oh Holy Night, the rendition that you did there. But then along the way, you had another health scare. This one involved your tonsils.
In fall of 18, I was recording a little record called Thomas Road. And I had a tickle in my throat that wouldn't go away. Long story short, I ended up having finished the album, did a Christmas tour, multiple rounds of antibiotics, didn't get better. Got to see a specialist and walked into his office, this Dr. Spire, and he said, "John, good to see you again." And I'm like, "When did I see you the first time?" He said, you wouldn't remember, but back in '97, when you had a polyp removed from your vocal cord, I was an intern on your surgery.
Wow.
It's funny how God puts people in your path that bring peace. Yeah. And all of a sudden there was a real level of peace in talking with him. And so I told him what I was experiencing, and he said, "Let's take a look." And he turned on a flashlight and looked down my throat. 3 seconds later, turned it off. He said, "We're straight shooters here. That's throat cancer."
Wow.
And ended up, I had a tumor growing out one of my tonsils, had another tumor developing in the other tonsil, and had them both removed, of course, and had nine chemos and 35 radiation treatments.
Wow, and here you are now, and you have your concert in Tomball, and each one of your concerts, things are a little bit different, and sometimes your son is playing the drums with you all, and your wife is singing with you. Will your wife be with you this time?
Yeah, my wife and I'll be. There's 2 of us tonight.
Yeah.
And the little venue in Tomball is awesome. Yeah. And looking forward to being there again. So
we've had several great artists come through.
It's a little place called Main Street Crossing, and they have some of the best entertainment. It's a great hall. Yeah,
and a great venue to actually experience that music as well. I want to round out with you've had some big knocks, but you have some big highs as well. And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes our faith is tested. Sometimes we abandon that faith, and something will bring us back around. There's a moment you come down to your knees. What is your advice to anybody who's going through it right now and just can't see the way out?
Let God use it for good. Whatever the circumstances are going on in our lives, let God use it to draw you to Him, or just to open your eyes to something, or to have empathy for others who might be going through similar things. But just let God use it for His good.
Yeah, it is such a pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for coming in and being with us today. And I just want to say, your love amazes me. All right. John Barry will be performing tomorrow night at 8 p.m. at Main Street Crossing in Tomball. Doors open at 6, and tickets are still available for what will surely be a memorable and just a beautiful show. And one lucky viewer can attend John's concert for free, courtesy of Main Street Crossing. Just be the 11th caller right now. Here's the number, 713-533-5230. Again, that's 713-533-5230, and you'll win a pair of tickets. So good luck to that.